This Sunday, from the opening prayer, the collect of the day, through the readings, we will be hearing a call to live a life of prayer and discipleship, and to take everything that we do in a prayerful spirit, and that informs the way we follow in Christ's footsteps. So, of course, our hymns and anthems and other prayers of the service will all follow in that theme. We'll start right off with the opening hymn, When Morning Gilds the Skies, which talks about living in that prayerful spirit of praise right from the moment that we wake up all through the day. And this text is actually originally a German hymn poem that was translated in the mid-19th century into English, became very popular, and this tune was written for it. Then the English poet and priest, Robert Seymour Bridges, was not quite satisfied with the translation and retranslated it again into English for his very important collection, the Yattenden Hymnal, but kept this pairing with this tune that was written specifically for this poem. At the offertory, the choir will be singing a very peppy and effervescent setting of another hymn, Fight the Good Fight with All Your Might, which is in our hymnal, but this musical setting is by the English 20th century composer John Gardner, who had a real flair for using popular rhythms, popular kinds of sounds, almost sort of dance hall types of genre of music to set sacred texts. And it's a really big romp and a lot of fun. As we move into communion, hearkening back again to that idea of service, of discipleship, and also staying with that pilgrim's progress of prayer, the choir will be singing an anthem, really a hymn, the Pilgrim's Hymn, by the American composer Stephen Paulus. Stephen Paulus was based in Minneapolis and was known largely for his many operas. And in fact, this hymn comes from one of his operas, The Three Hermits. And it talks about following in that discipleship throughout our lives, but it has this very serene and placid musical texture. And then we'll follow that with two really beautiful hymns that complement that musically and textually. And I hope that you'll really follow along with these texts and see how these themes keep recurring throughout these different anthems and hymns. Ending with our second communion hymn, Strengthen for Service, Lord, the Hands that Holy Things have taken. One of the most poetically exquisite offerings in our hymnal, and some of the oldest words. They were originally from the Liturgy of Malabar in the 3rd century, so some of the earliest Christian poetry we have, but of course in a translation that is much newer, around the turn of the 20th century. And again, like our first hymn, this tune was written specifically for these words, and it has a very effortless feel. It actually is not in a regular meter. There are a different number of beats in each measure, but the tune is so natural in its pacing that it feels very much like there's no interruption in the rhythm at all. So we hope that you will join us as we follow in that pilgrim's way here at St. John's with our 8 a.m. service in the chapel, Rite 1, and of course our 10:30 service with choir in the Cathedral Church.